We will take a look at the geometric interpretation of dot product. There are three scenarios. We will draw the vectors. The first case is when theta equals 0. Then both vectors v and w will point to the same direction. The second case is when theta is in between 0 and pi, excluding the endpoints. Then they will point to different directions. The third case is when theta equals pi or 180 degrees. Vectors v and w will point to totally opposite directions. Suppose vector v is not a zero vector and vector w is not a zero vector. Then the dot product vector v dot vector w equals the magnitude of vector v times, making sure that this dot representing the multiplication of real numbers, the magnitude of vector w, cosine of theta, where theta is the angle between vectors v and w, and theta is in between 0 and pi, including the endpoints. I copied the equation and some information from the previous page. If we divide both sides by the magnitude of vector v and the magnitude of vector w, we will get cosine of theta equals vector v dot vector w divided by the magnitude of vector v times the magnitude of vector w. We take arc cosine on both sides. We can do that and get theta directly because theta is in between 0 and pi, including the endpoints. Then we have theta equals arc cosine of vector v dot vector w divided by the magnitude of vector v times the magnitude of vector w. We are given vector v equals -5, 2 and vector w equals -3, -4. We will find the angle between these two vectors. We first find the magnitude of vector v. It equals square root of -5 squared plus 2 squared, which is square root of 29. Then we find the magnitude of vector w. It equals the square root of -3 squared plus -4 squared, which equals 5. Then the dot product of vectors v and w equals the product of the x components, which is -5 times -3, plus the product of the y components, which is 2 times -4, that equals 7. We plug this information into the formula we just introduced. Then theta equals arc cosine of 7 over square root of 29 times 5. The calculator is set in radian mode. Arc cosine of 7 divided by square root of 29, close to parentheses, divided by 5, close to parentheses, equals theta is roughly 1.31. We will do a rough check of our answer by sketching the vectors and the angle in between. Here is the vector -5, 2 with the initial point at the origin. And here is another vector -3, -4 with the initial point at the origin. And theta is the angle in between. Our sketch does not deviate from the answer we got from our computation.